And good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Bruce, how are you this morning?
I am well, Eric. I got a good double dose of the Nuggets and the Avs last night.
Wow.
Good double dose, right? Two blowouts.
Yeah.
I continue to be amazed by how similarly those two franchises seem to perform. All under one roof, obviously, out at Ball Arena. They're building mates, but both of them are off to torrid starts. And they won championships a year apart from one another. But the similarities about how they rise and fall, to me, are so remarkably similar. And last night I was just sitting there thinking, as Nate McKinnon was dropping another goal and another assist, and
Right.
as Jokic was going for 16 in the first quarter and 36 for the game, just how similar it is. But then I started to think a little bit about the one big difference between the two of them this year. They're both off to these incredible starts, right? But the Nuggets are chasing the inevitable Oklahoma City Thunder, who they are even at 14-6 now. The Nuggets, right? 14-6. They are already 5.5 games behind. Five and a half games behind. The Avs, on the other hand, are off to this unbelievable start. 22-2-7 now. They are they are at least 11 points clear of any teams in the NHL except for one. The Dallas Stars, who, by the way, did lose last night, are only 4 points in the same division behind the Avs. If it was anywhere else, the Avs would be running away with the division, running away with the conference. It would be just money in the bank right now. Those damn Dallas Stars. So it's kind of interesting for me to just kind of look at it that way. But that was my takeaway from last night, is I got a little bit of sampling of both.
Well, if it wasn't for Oklahoma City being 24-1, the Nuggets at 18-6 would be leading their division by 3 games.
They would.
I mean, Oklahoma City is on pace to lose like 4 games this year. Which is crazy to think about. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. And you wonder about the energy that you put forth in doing that, because we know that's not easy. I mean, when you got to get mentally ready to play, but they're helped by their depth. I mean, they go 10 guys deep. They can all play. They, for them, knocking on wood, they haven't had injuries, really to speak of, not disabling injuries, obviously. And they're just cruising along. And Eric, they're beating teams by like an average of 14 or 15 points a game. I mean, I think they've played 4 games that have been decided by 10 or fewer points. I mean, they are absolutely dominating like no team, including Golden State and the Bulls and the old Lakers, but before that, have done. It's been remarkable to see. You got to give them their flowers. Maybe it doesn't work out for them when they get to the playoffs. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but they are something to behold.
I was in physical therapy, and one of the guys I was working with yesterday was wearing an Oklahoma City Thunder jersey, Jalen Williams. And I said to him, if you could start a team tomorrow and you can start it with any player in the league you wanted to start it with, you get the first pick, who would it be? And without hesitation, he goes, Jokic.
Yeah.
Not SGA. He goes, it would be Jokic.
Of course it would be. Of course. Yeah. And I think, And at least we're to that point now at the age of 30 in his career. While we've been talking about this for about 10 years about Jokic, that there is general recognition and respect for him across all lines now. So that's good.
I saw something on social media the other day, and I can't remember. Oh, I know who it was. It was Austin Rivers, who has become a controversial guy in his opinions.
Yeah.
And he said, if SGA wasn't Canadian, he would be by far and away the most popular player in the NBA. To which I quote tweeted back to Austin Rivers. If Jokic wasn't from Serbia, he'd be the most popular player in the NBA.
Yeah.
So basically, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because SGA is Canadian, give me a break.
I disagree with the SGA take because I don't think he's not always a satisfying player to watch. And I'm not taking anything away from his game.
Right.
He chooses to play the foul drawing kind of game. That's fine. That's okay. I mean, that's part of who he is. He's a phenomenal player. I'm not saying anything at all to take anything away from him, but from a standpoint of watching him, he's not must-watch TV. When Oklahoma City's on, I'll watch the Thunder because the Thunder collectively are pretty interesting. But it really doesn't have that much to do with SGA. He's not the draw for me.
If SGA doesn't play, Oklahoma City is still one of the best teams in the league.
Yes, I would agree.
You take Jokic off, they are fighting, I think, in some ways for a playoff spot, unless Jamal Murray continues to play like this, and then he becomes your bell cow, and then you see what you have with Aaron Gordon and your bench, so on and so forth. With that, I want to tell you about Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos. They always have great promotions. We've been talking about this one for a long time, and it's finally here on December 13th, which is Saturday. It is their annual holiday auction for a pair of Super Bowl tickets, tools, jewelry, electronics, toys, kitchen appliances, and more. You can earn auction currency with every locked-up jackpot, players' points, or daily cash drawings. So many different ways to earn currency. Get on up there right now. The big auction is tomorrow. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, a family-owned casino that treats you like family. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Bruce, maybe some good news for the Broncos heading into Sunday's game against the Packers. Josh Jacobs hasn't practiced this week. Not sure if he's going to practice today. Today is a big day for him, although it doesn't mean he won't be a game-time decision. Right. Broncos still 2.5-point underdogs, but would you make the Broncos the favorites if you knew Jacobs was not going to play?
Probably not. They got 107 yards last week out of their backup, and it's who they are. They are a running football team. They established their offense through the run, and everything builds from it. However, the genesis of your question comes from the experience of Josh Jacobs being a Broncos wrecker all the way back to his days with the Raiders, where he could have had bad games coming in for 4 straight weeks, and he would, jump for 183 against the Broncos. So I understand where your question is coming from, but the Packers are still going to run the ball. That's who Matt LaFleur is, and they're going to run the ball early and often. And they won't deviate from that, even if it's not Josh Jacobs doing the running.
Even though the Broncos are 11-2, they have won 10 games in a row, and they certainly believe that they are a serious Super Bowl contender. And, being on top of the entire NFL in terms of record, there's no reason to doubt them. However, and you and I have had this conversation in the past, when I am playing a sport, when I am competing against someone, I want their best. I just do. I don't want any breaks along the way. I'll use pickleball as an example because that is your big sport right now. If I'm playing in a pickleball tournament against somebody who I know is as good, if not better than me, I don't want to play them knowing they have a sprained ankle. I want them 100% healthy. I want their best. So with that, would you like Jacobs to sit? Because it's going to give the Broncos a better chance to hold on to that number 1 seed? Or do you want him to play because you want the Packers best?
I'm probably not quite as avid in that regard as you are. My attitude is you're playing the Packers plan, and Josh Jacobs makes them better. I don't think necessarily I need to feel like I want every single piece of the puzzle to be there for the Packers. I don't think it makes it a more important win or it taints the win.
Well, but hold on a
They
second.
beat him without Josh Jacobs.
Hold on. If the Broncos win this game and Jacobs doesn't play, and I know the players in the locker room don't care what the national narrative is, I just don't want there to be a but. The the Broncos won, but Jacobs wasn't out there.
I would be pretty surprised if that's the narrative.
No, I think it will play a part of it. Now, when you are talking about Emmanuel Wilson, he did rush for 107 yards 3 games ago against Minnesota. 28 carries, 107 yards, scored a couple of touchdowns. But Emmanuel Wilson is not Josh Jacobs. So all I'm saying is I want somebody's best. And in this case, I don't want there to be a but. But now, in all fairness, listen, all teams deal with injuries. Surtain didn't play for some games, okay?
Right.
They've had other injuries along the way. By the way, Ben Powers could be coming back soon.
Yeah, he was much more active yesterday. He was more of an observer on Wednesday. Yesterday, he was going through drills. I think Polchevsky will still start at left guard, but you've got Powers in a position to be ready to come back and play. DJ Jones also back from an ankle injury that caused him to miss last week in Vegas. So they are nearing, their good health. But I don't know, Al. I mean, Eric. Let me just ask you this: do the Packers feel the same way without J.K. Dobbins about the Broncos?
J.K. Dobbins isn't Josh Jacobs.
Well, was the 5th leading rusher in the league when he went out with over 780 yards of rushing. So
he is not Josh Jacobs.
No, he's not Josh Jacobs. And Josh Jacobs isn't even Josh Jacobs really anymore. He's still a remarkably effective back. Right. He's very meaningful to those of us in Broncos country because he's kicked our ass on numerous occasions over the years, right? No question about it. But in and of itself, you beat the Packers, you beat the Packers. The Packers beat the Broncos, then they beat the Broncos. It doesn't matter who's in or who's out. The Packers improved to 10-3-1, and the Broncos, if they were able to win this game, improved to 12-2.
There is a lot of this going into the game on Sunday. Something's got to give, meaning the Packers on 3rd down in the red zone are outstanding. The Broncos in the red zone and on 3rd down are outstanding. Something's got to give, right? Now, there isn't a quarterback in the league that is better against man-to-man coverage than Jordan Love. And the Broncos have been outstanding in man-to-man coverage.
Highest rate of man-to-man coverage in the NFL.
Do you think Vance Joseph throws a lot of wrinkles in there with zone, or he says, you know what, fuck it. This is what we do, and you're going to have to beat us at our game?
I think he does a little bit of both. I do think the FU, this is who we are and what we do is primary, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have zone looks at certain times with certain kind of personnel. That will be something to pay attention to. That would be foolish to just basically beat your chest and say, this is who we are, go ahead and beat us.
Well, hold on.
When you know that you have an area of susceptibility. That's part of being a good coach and having a good game plan. The Broncos do play zone on occasion. Right. They do. So it's not like they don't have it in their arsenal. I don't think that they have to stretch to change who they are. Right. But I think being timely with certain looks would be advantageous and would be good coaching.
Well, this you might consider I'm about to say an outlier, but I'll throw it out there. 10 years ago in the Super Bowl, the Broncos had the greatest offense in football history with Peyton Manning in 2013.
Yep.
And what did Seattle do to combat that? They did what they did in their previous 16, 17 games. They just said, this is what we do. We only rush 4. We don't blitz. Take your chances with what we do really, really well, Denver. And they won that matchup handily. They didn't change at all.
If you believe that you are so oppressive defensively that it doesn't make any difference what the other guy is doing, more power to you. If you believe that there are nuances that you can pull from within your zone schemes, which you do run 28, 31, 32% of the time, whatever it is, and you can use that to your benefit, then I don't see why you wouldn't. They're not trying to make a point here. They're trying to win a football game.
Sure.
And that's my deal. My deal is, what are you going to do that gives you the best chance to win a football game? And that's why Vance Joseph gets paid. That's why Vance Joseph is more than likely going to be a head coach again as soon as next year in the National Football League, because he does damn well what he is paid to do. So it's a fair question, but I think the Broncos will remain true to themselves with some leeway of variation.
I am guessing that the Broncos players and coaches do not look at Sunday's game as a litmus test, because they're thinking, we've won 10 in a row.
Yeah.
We don't lose at home. We are 11-2. How are the Packers a litmus test for us? Look at what we've done. I don't know if the Packers look at the Broncos as a litmus test, but do you look at the Packers as a litmus test?
Yeah.
Is this the best team they faced this year? Let's start with that.
I think it's the best team that they've faced this year in the time and the place that they're facing them. Although Philadelphia at 4-0 on their home field, that was a pretty good. Now, what has Philadelphia proven to be in the aftermath? Still pretty good, but not like defending Super Bowl champion good, right?
Well, remember after the Broncos came back against Philly got their teeth kicked in by the Giants the following week.
But
that was a pothole on their road to a potential another Super Bowl.
No, you're absolutely right. But they regained their footing a little bit, and then they stumbled recently. But they're still a factor in the NFC. They're just not one of the three teams that we talk about, right? We talk about the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Packers. And that's with all due respect to Philly. But, I mean, there's demonstrated ability there, right? So, I mean, yes, I would say I wouldn't go full litmus test, but this is a telling game. And I do think that we will learn something about the Broncos in the 60 minutes or however many minutes they play with the Packers. I don't know what the Packers are hoping to learn. I think the Packers are trying to come into a place that's damned hard to win in. They're playing one of the three best defenses in the country, and they know very well that they're going to have to play well to win a football game. This does feel, and I do agree with this take out of the Broncos locker room, the overriding description of this game going into it is that it has a playoff feel to it. And I think that I would at least agree with that. It does have a playoff feel to it. And in that, it's different than any other game that the Broncos have played this season. There was a little bit of that with the Chiefs a few weeks back, a little bit.
I think there was more than just a little bit.
A little bit.
There was more than just no. Yeah, but now, just a little. I think there was.
Well, I think now, because now we're almost a month later and things have changed. The Chiefs are teetering on the edge of extinction.
Yeah.
The Broncos are the number one seed in the AFC and in control of their own destiny. With all due respect to the Chiefs and the history between the Broncos and the Chiefs, especially recently, there is, to me, no comparison between the importance of that game then to this game now. Now, you had to win that game then to make this game important now. I get that. But we've continued to take steps forward each and every week, and the weight of games and their importance to me, are more significant in the last 4 weeks of the season.
Who wins and why?
I like the Broncos in this game, and I don't like them by a bunch. I think this is going to be a tight game. I think it's an under game. I think that anytime that you have two defenses like this in a football game, in this kind of situation, I think that you're going to have it's going to be a rock fight. I think it's just going to be a knockdown drag out. But I've got the Broncos somewhere in the 20-17 range. That's where I would put it.
That's
Something
exactly
like
where
that.
I was. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Well, let's hope that great minds think alike, right? Because that's kind of where I see this thing. I do like the Broncos. The Broncos have something going, and I haven't paid as much attention. And we'll have your dad on here. David will join us in the second hour, who not only pays attention, but is maniacal about his following of the Packers, and he'll be able to tell us more about this, and I'm looking forward to it. So I haven't watched the Packers day in and day out, but I've seen them 4 or 5 times this season, and the Packers have the capacity to be an exceptional football team, well coached, well disciplined, really good skill positions. They're getting a little healthier, Josh Jacobs notwithstanding. They've got they've got a lot of things that go right. The Broncos, to me, have captured that winning edge. And in close games, they're going to have to prove to me that they're not the team that I think they are. Right. So that's where I'm at with them.
By the way, you just teased it. My father, a lifelong Packers fan, born in 1942, has seen the Packers rise and dips and rise and dips. He didn't see a lot of Curly Lambeau before he was born.
Right.
His teenage years did not include a lot of winning for the Packers until Vince Lombardi was hired. Full disclosure here, we usually pay our guests about $5,000 an appearance. And I was going to bring somebody else on who probably knows more than my father, but he offered to do it for free.
Well, good. That's good.
My dad, the Packers analyst, will join us next.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. And don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Here's another great promotion from Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk. On December 13th, it's their annual holiday auction for a pair of Super Bowl tickets, tools, jewelry, electronics, toys, and kitchen appliances. Earn auction currency with every locked up jackpot, players' points, or a daily cash drawing. There's so many ways to earn currency, and the more you play, the more you'll be able to bid and win what you want at their auction. So get up to Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos and start stacking your auction currency today.
We have a very special guest sitting right there with the Packers hat. My father, who I would call him, even though he doesn't cover the team, I would call him certainly an expert on the Packers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Dad, I've never said this to you privately, but I'll say it publicly now. One main reason why I'm a sportscaster today is because of my father.
Mm-hmm.
Every Sunday, we would sit in front of the television from noon until 6, watching back-to-back football games. And I remember one time, one game, whatever it was, wherever it was on the calendar, my mother came down the stairs from my parents' bedroom and said, "Eric, why don't you just go outside and do something?" And I said, "Mom, I need to watch these games because one day I'm going to be a sportscaster." And I said that at a really, really young age. Now, my love of the Bears was first and foremost for me. The problem is we lived so close to Milwaukee. Unfortunately, we were able to get the radio broadcast on WTMJ, listening, and the Bears and the Packers always played at the same time. They were always, for the most part, the noon game. Now, both teams in the 1970s, the Bears and the Packers were both awful. Lynn Dickey was not a very good quarterback for the Packers, and Bob Avellini and Mike Phipps and Vince Evans were just awful for the Bears. But I was forced from noon until 3 almost every Sunday to listen to WTMJ and listen to the Packers lose while watching the Bears with the sound off, watching the Bears lose. So I was tortured with the Packers growing up, so much, in fact, Dad, I don't know if you remember this, you'll probably deny this. My father thought it was a great idea when I was in middle school to get me a winter coat. It was emerald green with gold. He bought me a fucking Packers jacket that I had to wear to Maple Junior High every day during the winter. That wasn't pleasant. And with that, Dad, good morning. How are you?
Eric, glad to be here. You know, I've sat in on your shows a number of times and always wanted to open up my mouth, but I knew I didn't dare. So now I guess I get the chance to.
You get the floor. You get the floor. So looking ahead to this game on Sunday, before we get into it more in depth, what makes you believe that the Packers can win the Super Bowl this year? And what makes you believe they will have a pothole along the way, looking at their roster, where they won't win it?
I think their offense has become a lot better since they've solidified their offensive line. I agreed with moving Jenkins to center, but then at the beginning of the year and during training camp, it didn't look like it was going to turn out to be good. So now I think their offensive line is good. Jacobs, the running backs are really good. And then, of course, getting Christian Watson back and getting Jalen Reed back really helped their offense. The defense has been good. The problem is they lost Devontae Wyatt. They don't have a big inside defensive line. When they gave up Kenny Clark for Micah Parsons, and I'd give up Kenny Clark for Micah Parsons today, tomorrow, and the next day for what Micah Parsons has done for the defense. But is the the rookies and the second-year players that they have, are they going to be able to hold up the center of their defensive line? Between their linebackers, Quay Walker, Everin Cooper, they are really fast, and Rashawn Gary, and you don't know where Micah Parsons is going to line up.
Right.
And they do have a real good defensive backfield. They don't maybe have the takeaways, but they're really good at pass defense. So we'll see what happens. I've done this too long to get high and low about the Packers. I've been a Packers fan since 1949, and I can remember in the 50s as a kid growing up, like when you were growing up, where the Packers used to get kicked out of them every single Sunday, and the Bears did it twice a year.
Yeah.
So that's why I hate the Bears so much.
Hey, David, let me ask you a question, and you bring up Micah Parsons. How much better is this defense with him in it, even though it's changed the flow of their defense?
I think he makes, and this is a cliche everybody says, I think he makes the players around him better. They see what he does. They see how he chases down players. And also, and I don't know what Denver's going to do. I think they'd be stupid if they didn't, but almost everybody's double teaming him. Now, that leaves Rashawn Gary. That leaves their linebackers. That leaves some of their other guys to get in there and make plays. But he does make the defensive line and the linebackers a lot better. And as I forget if it was Xavier McKinney or Evan Williams said, gives us another half second in the pass defense because we can be that half second slow because he's going to cover it for us.
I might be alone on my own island here, and I am on most things. But I think for the Broncos, this is a litmus test for them. Even though they've won 10 in a row, even though they're 11-2, I get all that. But the Packers, to me, are the most balanced team that they have faced this year. As a fan from your end, do you look at this game on Sunday as a litmus test for the Packers, or have they played good enough teams where the Broncos are really, really good, but they may not be the best team they've faced all year?
If they hadn't have done what they did the first 2 games of the year and then the next 3, I would say this is a litmus test. I think they played really well. I don't think they played a team. They should have beaten Philadelphia the second time. As Micah Parsons said, we'll give up 17 points with this offense. We should win every game. In other words, they should be scoring over 20 a game.
Right.
They're going to be up against probably 1 or 2 best defenses in the league. Let's see what they do when they have everybody back. Now their offense basically is at full strength. I mean, we don't have the tight end we have when we lost Tucker Kraft. The offense is good. We'll see what Jacobs does. But, Jacobs has been hurt for the last 3 games and always seems to play. The thing with Jacobs, I heard you talking earlier about red zone defense, red zone offense. That's where they missed Tucker Kraft. Jacobs is really good in the red zone, but they don't have Tucker Kraft who gets in the end zone when you're 3rd and goal to go from 3, 4, 5 yards out. Jacobs can get that. He can get that, and they used to have Tucker Kraft to get that. So we'll see what happens then. We'll just see how that works out.
David, I want you to stand up right now and show people what you're wearing, because this to me is one of the most badass gifts that a child could ever give to a father. Really, and I mean this. I mean, when Eric was talking about, I want people to get a look at this. Now, for those of you that don't know the importance of the number 64 in Packers history, that's the great Jerry Kramer, who, of course, plowed the way for Bart Starr in the championship game against the frozen tundra game against the Cowboys, one of the most famous games in NFL history. That is the depth that this man follows and loves the Packers. But Jerry Kramer in particular, what makes you connect the most to a guy like Jerry Kramer? After all, you're talking about a guard, for goodness sakes.
The Packers sweep. Jerry Kramer, Freddie Thurston, Gail Gillingham pulling out for Paul Hornung or Jim Taylor, and Vince Lombardi saying, here's our playbook. We're going to run this every other play. Stop us. And they couldn't stop the guards. And you've got to remember, at that time, the guards were 236, 240 pounds.
Right.
I mean, they couldn't block a linebacker today. They're much bigger. But at that time, it was speed and just the way they played. They said, this is what we're going to do. Stop us from doing it. And I like that mentality. As long as you can, walk the walk and talk the talk.
Sure.
Listen, you're giving my father just a little bit too much credit here. Yes, he is wearing an authentic Jerry Kramer jersey. Generally speaking, if you're a big fan, you will buy it for yourself and not have one of your children buy it for you.
Well, that's even smarter if you
Yes,
ask
I
me,
know.
if you get one of your kids to buy it for you.
Especially if you didn't know you were getting it.
That's right. He did not know that he was getting that. And I was so excited for Mandy and Madison and me and I to give him that jersey because he came into Denver. And then, if you remember Greenfield's Pool and Sports Bar, our friend
Sure.
Chad
Yeah.
opened up the bar early for my dad to be able to watch that Packers game. So
Which
that
is
was
so
a
cool.
great Christmas, even though we celebrate Hanukkah. With that, I want to go back in history, Dad. You were born in 1942. The Packers were good up until maybe 1948, 1949. But your childhood, they were terrible.
Yeah.
In 1959, when the Packers decided to hire a really good assistant coach with the Giants, Vince Lombardi, did anybody at the time in Milwaukee where you grew up, did anybody think this guy's going to turn it around for us?
Who?
Vince Lombardi.
Who? Because you remember, in 1959, none of this was here. You had the newspapers. You didn't have the reporters reporting like it was.
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee wasn't Chicago, wasn't New York, and Green Bay definitely wasn't any of them. So we probably didn't know about Vince Lombardi anything until after the Super Bowl, there was no Super Bowl. After the loss to Philadelphia,
Yeah.
I think his second year as coach, when he said, "We will never lose a championship game again," which they never did. So we didn't know that much about him. We heard about how he basically ran the Packers as a dictatorship. It's my way or not. I mean, we had a great center for years, Jim Ringo, and he didn't like the way Lombardi ran the team, and he was gone. But no, to ask, we really didn't know that much because we didn't have the news, the sports, everything that you have today that you knew about Vince Lombardi, and we only saw him on Sunday.
You know, the thing that's interesting about the connections in this game go right back to the Lombardi family. Joe Lombardi is the offensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. We were chatting with him yesterday about, obviously being the grandson of the late, great Vince Lombardi. And he's just so incredibly modest and aw shucks about it. But he's right. He says, you can't, I've tried to do the best that I can in the career that I have forged for myself, but you're swinging at air when you start trying to comparing yourself to even your grandfather who won 5, championships and did what he did and still remains iconic to the point where the trophy that is awarded to the Super Bowl champion is named after the man. Vince Lombardi holds a special place in lore, but so do the Green Bay Packers. It's title town. A lot of it because of Vince Lombardi, but there is a magic about the Green Bay Packers being a team that is owned by their fans and that type of thing. Yeah, I hear you. So talk a little bit about that because it is a unique franchise, not only in the NFL, but just about anywhere in sports. And I think that's part of the magic about the Packers.
Well, it's small town. I mean, if you've been to Lambeau Field, it's all bleachers. Now that they've expanded, they put custom, but it's sitting on bleachers. Maybe they've shoveled them if it snowed out. It's just a small town atmosphere. You go to a game and no one's going to attack you. And I'm not saying anything about where I live or anything like that, but no, the Packer fan, they're very, very knowledgeable. Now, granted, you have nothing to do unless you're hunting deer in northern Wisconsin during the football season. And it's, and I always used to say, it seems when you watch a lot of the national stuff, they sort of forget that Green Bay is up there. that the small little town. But you saw what they did for the draft, how they handled the draft. But it's very. I used to go up to Green Bay with my father on business when he was driving that area, and you'd go into Green Bay, and that was in the 50s when it was City Stadium. There wasn't even Lombardi
Lambeau Field, right?
Well, it wasn't Lambeau Field back then.
Right.
It was the old City Stadium, and people still followed the Packers. To me, it's a different kind of atmosphere, and I've been to a few other stadiums. Eric so gracefully sent me to San Francisco to watch the Packers get kicked out of them, but that's beside the point. But yeah, Lambeau Field is a great place to go, and the whole atmosphere of being there. And it's the history too. It's
no question.
What my father is referring to is I was at home watching the Packers in the divisional playoff, and I knew San Francisco was going to be up next for the Packers.
Right.
And as I'm sitting there watching the game, I'm thinking, man, I bet my dad would love to go see the NFC Championship game. So I went and bought, a scalped seat for my dad, like on StubHub, and then sent him out to San Francisco to go watch the game. And I don't really think I got my money's worth spending on that ticket because it was such a rout by halftime.
Yeah.
He left.
Not well.
He left at halftime. That's how bad it was.
Have you ever been to Levi Stadium and know how far it is to get from San Francisco and how long it takes to get there?
Yes, right. I have.
So I understand, Dad, eras are different in football. But if you had one game to win, do you want Bart Starr, Brett Favre, or Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback? It's different eras because Bart Starr was not some big throwing quarterback. And again, I understand it's a different game.
Boy, that is hard. That is really hard. I'd probably want Aaron Rodgers in the beginning or up until the last couple years with the Packers, because I think he made better decisions on the field, especially with McCarthy there as coach. My big argument with Matt LaFleur is it's 3rd and 2. Why are you going for a touchdown? Get the goddamn 2 yards and keep going. And he had Aaron Rodgers doing that. He had Jordan Love doing that the first couple of years. He's not doing that as much. But I know the Packers are a big play team. But boy, you're moving down the field and you can get 2 yards. Why are you going for a 50-50 ball when you can probably get a 70-30 and get your 2 yards? I'd probably take Aaron Rodgers.
Now looking at this team, you have a bunch of good to very good wide receivers. No one's elite, no one's a Pro Bowler, no one's an All-Pro. If you had your choice, would you rather have the collection of wide receivers that you currently have that can all catch the ball, can all have big games, are all capable, or would you rather have a Devontae Adams and then everybody else?
I'd rather have what we have now because the way Jordan Love handles a game, he throws to open people. He doesn't force the ball. And you need a Devontae Wicks like he came up two weeks ago. You have Jalen Reed, who just came back, who caught 4 or 5 passes last week. You have Christian Watson, who's now back. You have Romeo Doubs. Any one of these guys can break a game for you or get that first down. Where if you have a great receiver and they double team him and your other receivers are good, but they're not as good, I think you're better off with a group of well-rounded, good receivers.
Well stated, especially against a team like Denver who can cover in man.
Right.
Pat Surtain is one of the best cover guys in the National Football League, one of the best guys we've seen maybe in the last 5, 6, 7 years in the National Football League. He can take away a guy. I like Musgrave too. I mean, I know he's not Kraft, but I do like Musgrave. I think he's a capable guy, and I think they'll continue to look for him more. And this is the kind of matchup, David, that I think that they probably look for the tight end a little bit more. If there's a little kink in the Broncos' defensive armor, it's still covering athletic tight ends. It's still a little bit of a bugaboo. So I will be interested to see how Matt LaFleur tries to expose them that way. It's an intriguing game. I think it's going to be really close.
Well, you're talking about tight ends.
Yes.
Musgrave doesn't block as well as Tucker Kraft.
Right.
If you're only going to rush 4 and our offensive line can hold them, then Musgrave becomes really important because he's almost as fast as Tucker Kraft was. He doesn't get the yak that Kraft gets. Nobody does. The thing I'm going to be interested in is watching a 6'4", 4'1" receiver in Christian Watson going up against your defensive backfield.
Yeah, that will be very interesting. I agree.
Because I think he is very much underrated as a receiver, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, the tight ends, they have 3 tight ends. All 3 of them are in a Tucker Kraft, but each has their own thing. But if they can be short passes and Musgrave doesn't have to block, although they will play 2 and 3 tight end sets too.
Yeah.
Okay, finally, before we wrap this thing up for the week, give us a prediction, Dad. Who wins and why?
I don't make predictions. I never have. And as I've told you, I go into a game, I want the Packers to win. If they play a great game and lose, I'm not disappointed.
Well, then I'll give your answer for you because you decided to sidestep that. I will quote our mutual favorite comedian, George Carlin, Packers 28. Does that work for you? Give you a partial score.
We'll see what happens.
All right, that's going to do it for us for the week, Dad. Thank you for joining us. Just what a thrill to have you on this show. We'll keep this show forever, just because it's part of now our history together. Bruce, thank you for joining us as well as you do with me every single day. That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Dad, I love you very much. Make it the best possible weekend you can.